Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar regarding the Department's implementation of SB 238's monthly psychotropic medication reports through safe measures. If you're unable to hear us, please let us know by using the chat function in the webinar. We will have a question and answer session at the end of the presentation where we will answer any questions that are submitted via the chat box. So let's get started with introductions of today's presenters. My name is Lori Fuller, and I'm the Chief of the Permanency Policy Bureau here at the Department of Social Services.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alicia Sandoval. I also work here at CDSS, and I am the Child Welfare Data Analysis Bureau Chief.
Good afternoon. My name is Jennifer White. I'm a researcher here in the Child Welfare Data Analysis Bureau at CDSS.
Before we get started with the presentation, just wanted to cover some housekeeping items. As I mentioned before, your phones are muted, and there will be a question and answer session at the end of the presentation. Due to the large volume of folks we have registered for this webinar, we will not be taking live questions. However, you can type your questions into the chat box at any time, and we will provide responses at the end. You can also send us emails or feedback if it's regarding data-related information. Please send it to cwsdata@dss.ca.gov. If it's a policy-related question or information, please send it to qipsychotropic@dss.ca.gov. Today's webinar will be recorded and posted for viewing at a later date. Today's webinar will focus on providing counties with guidance and information on a recent all-county information notice that we issued, I-27-17. Today we will be discussing the purpose of the webinar. We will be reviewing the ACIN, talking about the existing data sharing agreements that are available to counties, and what kind of data is available through the agreements and in safe measures. Also talking about the newly created safe measures roles and providing counties with instructions about how to access these reports and informing counties what their responsibilities are to protect the data. And at the end, we will be giving a demonstration of the reports that will be available in safe measures. The purpose of today's webinar is to inform counties about the process to access the data, which is the matched data between CWS, CMS, and Medi-Cal paid claims for psychotropic medications on the Safe Measures Data Analytic and Case Management Platform. On Thursday, May 4th, 2017, CDSS issued ACIN I-27-17, which describes how counties that are signatories to one of the two data sharing agreements can access the monthly reports that are required in Senate Bill 238. We're going to clarify how counties can begin to gain access to safe measures and demonstrate what data are available. I'm now going to turn it over to Alicia, who will discuss the data sharing agreements available for counties.
Thanks, Lori. As Lori mentioned, we have two data sharing agreements that exist between our department, CDSS, and the Department of Health Care Services to exchange psychotropic medication data. So counties may choose to opt into one of these two agreements. First, I'll talk a little bit about the Global Data Sharing Agreement. The Global Agreement is further explained in ACIN I-36-15, and it's been available to counties since April 2015. We refer to this agreement as global because it's a broad agreement which allows exchange of various types of data. Through this agreement, counties can receive data for children and non-minor dependents with an open child welfare case. Data available through this agreement includes eligibility, demographic, medical, mental health, payment, and medication data, and can be used for a wide range of permissible purposes. Also wanted to note that specialty mental health services data will soon become available through this agreement. In order to ensure that psychotropic medication data is accessible in every county for the performance of health oversight activities, the psychotropic medication data sharing agreement became available to counties. And this is more recent in December 2016, and it's further explained in ACIN I-87-16, as you can see on the display on the second column. This agreement is limited when compared to the global agreement, but it does allow exchange of psychotropic medication data to counties for children in foster care up to age 17, but only for the purpose of health oversight activities. Also wanted to note that both agreements do not have expiration dates, which eliminates contract renewal processing. So as of today, we have 26 counties that have opted into the Global Data Sharing Agreement and 16 counties that have opted into the Psychotropic Medication Data Sharing Agreement. Okay, so the process for opting into an agreement. So counties only need to enter into one of the two agreements, and the process for opting in is fairly simple. For either agreement, we ask that the appropriate county representative signs and emails the signatory page of one of the agreements to our inbox at cwsdata@dss.ca.gov. The signatory will also designate county staff as authorized requesters, and they will be responsible for submitting all data requests. And lastly, the authorized requester submits a data request form when they're ready to receive data files. I briefly wanted to go over some of the data elements that are available. As you can see on the screen, we have demographic and client information. We have the name of the child, social security number, date of birth, ethnicity, age group. We also have case information, placement data, placement dates, foster care episode dates, and case dates. And then we have the medication details that are more specific to brand and generic medication names, paid claim dates, strength of the medication, the units, the days supply, and the national drug codes for the medications. We also have prescriber and pharmacy information as well. So currently, these data are being exchanged through a manual process, and this is through CDSS's Secure File Transfer System on a quarterly schedule. And this process is a bit cumbersome. Counties are required to complete a form to create a CDSS SFT account, and data files are uploaded and downloaded manually. Also, because the data files are processed quarterly, cases may be closed by the time counties download the files, which can be problematic. With this new process, Medi-Cal psychotropic medication claims data will be provided through Safe Measures on a monthly schedule. And because Safe Measures is refreshed on a daily basis, you will be accessing cases that are currently open. And now Jennifer will talk about Safe Measures access and the reports that are available.
Thank you, Alicia, and good afternoon again, everyone. There are currently 3 reports that are available in Safe Measures, with several more coming soon, and others that are being developed. Those that are currently available are the use of psychotropic and antipsychotic medications, Measure 5A1 and 5A2, I think, which we're all familiar with and currently posted on the California Child Welfare Indicators Project website hosted by UC Berkeley. The second is children on 1 or more antipsychotic medications, and the third is the use of psychotropic medication for children age 5 and under. In the near future, the following reports will also become available: the use of multiple concurrent psychotropic medications, Measure 5C, and children on 3 or more concurrent psychotropic medications. SB 238 also requires CDSS work with stakeholders to develop additional indicators. These indicators were developed in collaboration with the Child Welfare Directors Association, CWDA, and the Psychotropic Medication Implementation Work Group in late 2015. These include concurrent medications by each drug class, dosages exceeding recommended guidelines, off-label use, and length of time on medications by drug class. The remaining measures identified in Senate Bill 484 will also be developed in safe measures and includes metabolic monitoring and screening, measures 5B and 5E, first-line psychosocial care, measure 5E, and follow-up visits, measure 5G. Okay, so because Medi-Cal data in safe measures is protected health information that is subject to the protections of the Federal Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, otherwise known as HIPAA, 3 new roles within the safe measures system were created. In your county, you may well know that there are currently safe measures administrators who are responsible for creating and maintaining their county's safe measures accounts. So for these Medi-Cal reports, the Medi-Cal administrator functions in a similar role of creating and designating 2 types of users to view these protected Medi-Cal reports for psychotropic medications. Therefore, they're sort of one step above the safe measures administrators. They also need to be safe measures administrators, as you can see in that first row in the display. These Medi-Cal administrators can view all of the data in their county, including aggregate and client-level reports. These would be examples include the division directors and probably program managers. On the next slide, I'll go through a detailed process of how one becomes a Medi-Cal administrator. The second role that you see on the screen is the Safe Measures Medi-Cal user. They will also have access to all of their county's aggregate and client-level reports for Medi-Cal data. These users may include your supervisors, program planners, program analysts, and program specialists. The last role is the Safe Measures Medi-Cal My Upcoming Work users who will have access to view client-level data of the children whose case they are assigned to as a primary worker, a secondary worker, and or a supervisor as identified in the case assignment table in CWS-CMS. They will not have the ability to view county-wide aggregate or client-level reports. These would be your social workers, probation officers, and public health nurses. So during the first week of this month, I think the very first week of this month, county child welfare directors, signatories to the data sharing agreements, and their authorized requesters received an email with instructions for gaining access to Medi-Cal psychotropic medications reports and safe measures. As I mentioned in the previous slide, the Medi-Cal administrators need to also be safe measures administrators. That's the first step. The next is that the signatory to the agreement, or the individual who signs your county's data sharing agreement, identifies a Medi-Cal administrator who may also be the authorized requester to the agreement. The next, the signatory completes and signs the Safe Measures Medi-Cal administrator designation form, which we'll go over. And some counties may also need to submit the most recent data request form to ensure their request for data is current, since we've added a few new data elements, such as the brand name and client index number. And then the last step, of course, is to email all these documents to our inbox at cwsdata@dss.ca.gov. Okay, so let's go ahead and review this Medi-Cal administrator form, and we'll go ahead and double-click on that document and zoom in. This was included as an attachment. I think you have to escape out. Excuse us. And then view. We didn't practice this part. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. This was included as an attachment to the email with the instructions I mentioned a couple of slides ago. So we'll go through an example that's already been completed. And the staff listed here for Metropolis County are your current authorized requesters to the data sharing agreement. As I mentioned before, they are responsible for submitting data request forms, and in the previous process, they were also responsible for downloading files to the SCIR file transfer system. In this example, as you can see, Lois Lane from Metropolis is a current authorized requester, and we have identified her as a current Safe Measures administrator. The signatory to the agreement may then confirm her additional responsibility as becoming a Medi-Cal administrator, who, as I mentioned previously, will be responsible for identifying and designating appropriate county staff to view these protected data. The signatory can do that by checking the Keep Staff box in that first row. Should the signatory choose to replace Lois Lane with a different staff, they would check the second box and identify their replacement by completing the row below and providing the replacement's name, email address, and Safe Measures access level. If the signatory chooses to remove Lois Lane entirely without a replacement, they would choose the third and last option here. In the case of Lois Lane, she is already a county Safe Measures administrator and no further action is needed. And all the signatory has to do is sign this form and return it to our inbox. In Clark Kent's case, he is a Safe Measures user and would need to contact the Safe Measure administrator, and lucky him, he has Lois Lane, to upgrade his account to a Safe Measures administrator. In Jimmy Olson's case, it shows here that he does not have a Safe Measures account and would also need to contact the Safe Measures administrator, who will need to create an account for him. Once all of the Safe Measures Medi-Cal administrators are identified, and they also have Safe Measures administrators accounts, the signatory may then sign and date this form and submit it to our inbox at CBS Data. We ask that no more than 3 Medi-Cal administrators are listed, and then if there are any future revisions to the Safe Measures Medi-Cal administrators, we would need to then do this form again and submit it to our inbox. Okay, so let's catch up to the slide. So once we have all your forms and everything is ready to go, the Medi-Cal administrator can access Medi-Cal psychotropic medication reports and Safe Measures. One of the first things they'll have to do is designate appropriate staff to view the protected data. And access to these data should be limited to staff with appropriate business needs because the additional protections and responsibility that come along with being able to view this data. The process for designating staff is simply to go to the user information section within Safe Measures, and toward the bottom of the page you'll see there, this is an example of a user in your county, Hal Jordan, and he can see user group CFSR and quarterly reports, and also you can designate his role in one of those 2 options below to view Medi-Cal county reports, that's county-wide client-level aggregate reports, or Medi-Cal assignments. And the administrator should decide whether the program directors, the directors and the program planners would generally be able to view county-wide client-level data. And then if Hal should only view cases assigned to him as a primary or secondary worker, as our supervisor, then these would be your, like I said, social workers, public health nurses, and probation officers. And the administrator can choose one or both of these options for Hal Jordan. The first time that any user logs on to Safe Measures to view Medi-Cal psychotropic medication reports, they will see this screen on the right. Please read the page carefully and ensure you've met, and if requested, can provide documentation of these responsibilities. Again, because these data contain protected health information that is subject to the protections under HIPAA, a user must accept these responsibilities once every 365 days, once a year. These security provisions include annual privacy and security training, use and access of these data that are solely used for an official government purpose permitted by your data use agreement, that the user is accessing this information in a confidential setting and from a secure encrypted workstation. The user does not disseminate or provide information from these data to unauthorized persons, and that the user should provide notice of any suspected breach, security incident, unauthorized access, or misuse of information. Once a user has accepted the security provisions, they can access the reports in two areas within Safe Measures. On the left-hand screen, the Medi-Cal user reports can be accessed directly from the Medi-Cal reports menu or from the index page. Here it is from the Medi-Cal reports menu, just on the left side, called Medi-Cal reports. From the index page, They're listed as Measure 5A, use of psychotropic medications, Medi-Cal claims data, and Measure 5A2, use of antipsychotic medications, Medi-Cal claims data. Once you enter the Medi-Cal psychotropic medication reports from either locations, you will see this page that lists Medi-Cal reports that are currently available. Note that the Safe Measures contains psychotropic medication reports from two sources. We know that psychotropic medications are entered by county workers in CWS CMS, and here the Medi-Cal data is using matched data between CWS CMS and Medi-Cal for paid claims data. Each Medi-Cal psychotropic medication report can be identified by the title. It's always preceded by Medi-Cal, and the red text you see here describing the security protections. The reports that are currently available are listed here: the use of psychotropic and antipsychotic medications and use of medication for children 5 and under. And if you're a Medi-Cal administrator or a Medi-Cal user, you'll see your county's aggregate reports. You'll note that although these are aggregate reports and they are not intended for public release until the appropriate de-identification and suppression procedures required by HIPAA have been met. So it looks like we can share them, but you just have to make sure that you've de-identified the data. And we provided a link to the California Health and Human Services Agency de-identification guidelines. These guidelines describe a procedure to be used by departments and offices in the agency to assess data for public release and assuring that data is de-identified for the purpose of public release that meet the requirements of the California Information Practices Act, known as IPA, and the federal HIPAA to prevent disclosure of personal information. Okay, so clicking on either parts of the report, children on medication or children not on medication, will bring you to this page that lists client-level information. You'll have the supervisor and the staff member assigned to the child, case and placement information, and the most recent psychotropic medication paid claim date. This is, I think, probably familiar for any Safe Measures user. Clicking on the blue H icon or history icon on the left will bring you to the medication history page. As I noted previously, Safe Measures contains both CWS CMS entered information and matched Medi-Cal paid claims data for psychotropic medication. This view can provide a comparison between data entered by county workers and data matched to CWS CMS. Be aware of which report you're accessing to avoid misinterpreting the information you have. Accessing the Medi-Cal psychotropic paid claims data will bring you to this page, which provides a row of data for each claim for that child. For example, if a child was on a 30-day supply of Abilify during the year, these data would show 12 instances of Abilify to represent each claim. In other words, one paid claim a month during a 12-month period. These data should be familiar to those who have been receiving files from us through the secure file transfer system. The data elements available are those listed by Alicia in the previous slide, and these include the medication details, national drug code, strength, units, day supply, prescriber name, and pharmacy information. And then new data elements that will be included are the client's index number from Medi-Cal and then the medication brand name. As with any Safe Measure reports, there's an option to export these data to Excel, provided that you meet the security responsibilities and protections. Okay, I know that was a lot of information in a short presentation. However, we hope it gave counties information on how to access Medi-Cal reports and Safe Measures and how that can enhance your current efforts for oversight and monitoring of psychotropic medication for children in our care. On this slide are a few resources as references, all of the ACINs that have been issued on this topic. And then again, the slides and the recording will be made available for viewing at a later date. We'll post those publicly and notify counties. And then we'll make sure that we send an email to those who have attended this presentation, let them know that the slides are publicly posted. So now we'll go through the chat box and answer any questions you've typed in.
All right. My name is Nathan Morris with CBSS. The first question is this PowerPoint going to be sent to all participants after the webinar?
Yes, as we mentioned, we'll go ahead and publicly post it, as well as a recording, an audio recording, video.
So they will receive both the PowerPoint?
Both the PowerPoints and a link to the recording.
Next question is, how do we add a new person that is not already listed on the designation form?
I think I went through that in this previous slide. Check any of those boxes. You can replace an existing authorized requesters or enter one if there's a blank row. If you've listed 2 authorized requesters and there's a blank option on the 3rd row, you can go ahead and enter that person's name, email address, and Safe Measures access level to that Medi-Cal administration designation form.
And that's on slide 15, just
15.
for reference.
All right, the next question was, is signing up for this required? Looks like that's from Yolo County, a question from Yolo County.
No, counties are not required to sign up for the Safe Measures process. However, we do want to emphasize that it is a much easier way for counties to access this data. But if you choose not to go the route of Safe Measures, you would receive data files through the SFT process. But again, I also wanted to stress the fact that with Safe Measures, you will be reviewing cases that are current open cases. One of the drawbacks of the process that we currently have is that a lot of the cases that we send via SFT, they're already closed. And so, of course, county workers want to ensure that they're reviewing cases that are open. So we do highly recommend and encourage counties to go the route of Safe Measures and go through this process.
The next question, the person notes that they said they don't see 5A1 or 5A2 reports listed in Safe Measures currently. Does this mean that Safe Measures administrators for my county need to grant me access to view these reports?
You would have to submit your signatory to the agreement, the person who signed one of the 2 agreements we discussed in this presentation would need to submit the Medi-Cal Administrator Designation Form that we described on slide 15. Once we receive that, we'll notify the Safe Measures team and grant those individuals with access to view the reports. As of today, no counties can view the Medi-Cal data in Safe Measures until we've delegated those assignments.
And I also wanted to just clarify that if you do not have access to certain reports on Safe Measures, you won't even view them. They won't be displayed for you to see. So that's why you're not seeing them now.
We have a question, can a county sign up for both data sharing agreements?
I touched on that a little bit earlier. Counties only need to opt into one agreement. However, if you have opted into the psychotropic medications MOU, we do encourage you to opt into the global data sharing agreement. But you only need to have access to or be a signatory to one of the agreements. And the reason I say to opt into the global is because of the fact that it is a much broader agreement and allows exchange of more data.
So just to follow up on that, if a county wanted to upgrade and sign the global, would the existing psychotropic medication agreement they had previously signed be voided?
Not necessarily that it's voided, but then the exchange would be happening under the global, meaning it could be used for the broader purposes under the global and not just limited to what's in the psychotropic meds data sharing agreement.
The next question is, when will this feature be available in Safe Measures?
As soon as we receive your Medi-Cal Administration Designation Form, You will begin to have access within a few days of receiving that form. You should be gaining access to the Safe Measures Medi-Cal reports.
The administrators will have access.
The administrators will have access, and then your administrators would then designate, other staff in your county as appropriate to be users or my upcoming work users.
And we have already received those designation forms from 4 counties, so those are being processed currently.
All right, the next question is, will CWS CMS be updated to be able to capture the new data measures, i.e. metabolic monitoring, following up appointments, etc., or is there already guidance for entering this data?
So the new measures, the metabolic monitoring and screening, and then psychosocial care and follow-up visits, those will be using matched data in Medi-Cal through the claims that are paid through by Medi-Cal. So it does not require additional data to be entered in CWS CMS. Much like these data, the use of psychotropic and antipsychotic medications, we're not relying on data entered by social workers in the counties and entered into CWS CMS, and using, again, matched data from Medi-Cal.
And as those measures are developed, they will be available on Safe Measures.
We have a question about when to expect a posting of the PowerPoint and the webinar recording.
It shouldn't take long, maybe a week or so, if that.
Next question is there a deadline to identify the 3 Safe Measures Medi-Cal administrators?
There isn't a deadline, as soon as your county wants these reports and Safe Measures, go ahead and submit those forms.
We have a question. How often will the Psych Meds data be updated on these Safe Measures reports? Is it current monthly for previous month view?
It won't be current data as in live data, that is, a paid claim was yesterday. A claim was paid for yesterday, and you'll see it in Safe Measures. There's intention to update these data monthly. The data lag, we're working with our partners at DHCS to come up with a schedule for a data lag, how old the Medi-Cal data would be. Currently, the data are about 3+ months, 3 to 4 months old. We're working with DHCS on formalizing a schedule.
We have a question, is it possible to receive a list of all Safe Measures reports by user access level?
I believe your Safe Measures administrator would have that information in your for your county.
I believe we already answered this question. This person asks, they say they're on Safe Measures but don't see the Medi-Cal tab shown on the PowerPoint earlier. Is it because I'm not yet an administrator?
That's true.
Administrator or user.
Yeah, administrator or user.
I have a question that says, can examples be shared on how counties can use this data to enhance reporting? For example, should every paid claim have a record in CWS CMS?
We do have a work group of all of our Global Data Sharing Agreement and Psychotropic Medication MOU participants, where we discuss how the data is used at the county level, and that I'm sure would be very helpful to whichever county submitted that question. We can provide some additional information on when those meetings are scheduled. They're actually webinars. And you can send that inquiry to cwsdata@dss.ca.gov. We would love all of those counties who have opted in to participate.
So if they send a request to that mailbox, they'll be added to the distribution list?
Yes. And we'll give them information on the upcoming webinar.
It says, next question is, will data be available via sft.ca.gov still? That's from Chris Stroh. And
So we will continue with the regular SFT process if counties do not submit the forms required for safe measures. But again, we really are encouraging all counties to join in with this new process for easier access to data.
As I mentioned, the client level by client by claim data that counties are used to receiving in the previous manual process through the SFT, that is still available by downloading that Excel file from Safe Measures.
And one of the goals that we have with this approach is that we really want social workers, probation officers, and public health nurses, where applicable, to be able to access information. They're the ones that are spending time with the child and the family and needing to, find out how things are going with the child on their medications. So we really want the easiest way for them to have, at the ready all the time, this data, so that before they go to make a home visit, they can look at what's, the paid claims are, what the child's actually taking, the dosage, and have more informed conversations with the caregivers and the child. So that's the reason that we're really encouraging the Safe Measures application use, because we think that that'll be a much more streamlined process for the client-level data to get to the actual ground-level workers.
The next question is, what data elements are matched between CWS, CMS, and the med system? And the question is that claims data?
So the data is matched from DHCS's MIS DSS data system, and we take the two departments work together on the match process, but we take CWS CMS data and MIS DSS eligibility data, the med system, and take the child's first, middle, last name, date of birth, and social security number, and all of those data elements together and create an algorithm for matching.
And we're matching against pharmacy claims.
Yeah, we're matching against. Currently, these data are matched against, it starts with eligibility, so the child must be Medi-Cal be eligible, and then from there identify those Medi-Cal eligible kids and see if they have a pharmacy claim.
All right, it looks like all of our questions.
Great. If you have any other questions or comments or anything else you would like to send us, please send those along. Happy to receive them at any of these email addresses you see on your screen for data related, CWS data for policy related, QI psychotropic, and then of course our Safe Measures team at support@safemeasures.org for any Safe Measures questions you may have.
And one other thing that's important to note that we're often talking about some of these, the data elements and the Safe Measures, as well as how counties can best utilize the data to improve their casework practice at the QIP work group meetings. So I would encourage folks, if they're interested in hearing more about that level of information, to join that work group. The next work group is coming up, I believe it's July 13th. And if you want to get added to the distribution list to get information about the work group meetings, the QI psychotropic mailbox would be the appropriate place to put that information, and we'll get you on the list.
Okay, great. Well, thank you everyone for attending.
Have a good day. Thanks.
Bye.